Hello everyone, this is Kroda giving you game 2 in a series between Imba's Strelok and nAni here on Tal'Darim altar as I bring up my overlay so you just don't see an empty box here. Anyways, Imba Strelok spawning once again as the blue Terran player at the 10 o'clock position. Meanwhile, nAni spawning as the pretty in pink Protoss with the Brood War decal or the Zerg decal here at the 2 o'clock position. So yes, Terran versus Protoss on Tal'Darim altar, and Tal'Darim altar is a very, very large map, and I hope to see a little bit more of a macro style of play. In game 1, nAni laid down a lot of pressure off of 5 to 6 gateways, expanding relatively early, and he may be able to do the same exact thing once again here on Tal'Darim altar. Gateway pressure is very, very popular just because you're able to utilize that warp gate and able to just deploy your units straight into the field, which is always a very, very helpful benefit, making a large map feel smaller if you're able to move or just deploy units from your gateways anywhere you want. You can see both sides now already setting up their initial buildings, that supply depot and that pylon. nAni, now going for instead a chrono boosted probe, so he will be delaying his gateway for just a little bit. We'll see if he goes for a blind expansion. I can't imagine that to be the case, as a blind expansion, especially against a Terran player, is rather difficult to try to do on Tal'Darim altar. Marines and Marauders with that range, you cannot use a gateway or a forge inside of next core to really wall yourself in as you would normally against a Zerg player. You can see nAni now going for a straight Nexus though, so it will be a blind 15 Nexus here on Tal'Darim altar. nAni definitely wanting to put down a lot of pressure as a Marine now being trained up, a refinery being placed down by Strelok. And it looks like Strelok may be trying to go for perhaps a Reaper expansion after a Marine is trained. The gas was a little bit delayed. I'm not quite sure why it was delayed there. Normally you can add a tech lab on a little bit faster, but it looks like this Marine will be popping out. A supply depot now being added, as well as both sides are now scouting out with those early workers, and it will be quite some time before those workers make it anywhere near another person's base. Taking a look into nAni's base, currently back over here we have a gateway and another pylon warping in, a second assimilator now coming online as well. nAni not lining up his pylons like a Protoss player should. A little bit of a miscue. Maybe I can like tilt the camera a little bit. No, I can't tilt the camera enough to actually make them look in line at all. Anyways, back over here, we can see that a Marauder is now being trained, so no Reaper, as an expansion should be laid down in just a moment. Normally, a Reaper is added first, as that Reaper is able to handle any early Zealot pressure much more easily than a Marauder can try to fight back against a Zealot. The Marauders are now making their way out. SCV over here pretty much knows that nothing is there. And what is this SCV doing? This SCV hiding an expansion perhaps down over here at some point in time. We'll just have to wait and see what's going to be happening there, as we can see one command center already being placed down here, and now a probe going to be making its way over. It looks like a Marauder and a Marine will be able to intercept that probe before that probe is able to really do any scouting at all. SCV now coming inside, and it will see what he doesn't want to see, already having a Nexus up. So that Nexus up means that nAni definitely has a stronger economy at this stage. A Stalker and Chrono boosting that Warp Gate, and nAni running off of 16 mineral patches should be able to easily throw down a lot of gateways and defend early on in this matchup. You can see another command center is being placed down over here though at the 6 o'clock position. So this is a blind hidden expansion before the 6-minute mark by Strelok, and Strelok will just have to pray and pray that this expansion is not found. He's going to have to invest a lot of SCVs and a lot of time in order for this command center to really be worth it. And if it is spotted out by perhaps a random Phoenix or a random Observer, that would just spell disappointment for his strategy. Zealot now activating this Zelnaga Watchtower over here. You can see a Marauder and 2 Marines. Imba Strelok also now upgrading to an orbital command at his natural expansion, and still trying to run off of just 1 gas so far. So you can see additional barracks now being placed down, and that's going to be a problem, as we are now getting nAni into a 3-gate with the robotics facility. So we're going to have a lot more production buildings coming in from nAni. nAni may be able to just simply walk over Strelok in just a matter of moments, especially if there's not going to be enough SCVs or enough units to really fend off this attack. The command center is finished down over here, may upgrade to an orbital command, and what we may also see is that Strelok only calls mules down here. This is a strategy that works fairly well as a Terran player. If you call in your mules on the far side of the map, you do not deplete your minerals nearly as quickly. As you can see, Strelok has some mules over here. You do not deplete your own in-base minerals nearly as quickly. And then you also do not have to invest too many SCVs on the far side. There you go. Mule now being called down over there as we are getting an observer and getting the 4 drop-in upgrades. Strelok also training up some SCVs here, and just a really nicely done, being able to make sure that he does not mine out his main mineral patches that quickly. The key thing will be if nAni is very observant with his observers and he actually spots that there are no mules inside the base, but somehow the energy is getting depleted without detecting scanner sweeps, then he knows that something is definitely up. Level 1 weapons upgrade now coming in, and the window of opportunity for nAni to move out and attack is drastically becoming smaller and smaller. Currently sitting at a total 1,200 resources compared to 675, almost double. As this observer will now be able to catch this location here. We can see that there are 3 bunkers though. So with 3 bunkers, those bunkers will be able to shut down many of those units that try to make their way in. We are going to get a little bit of an observer a reveal there. The observer now able to just float around. He can see that there are a lot of barracks, and now also sees the reactor and the factory. He is not going to be doing any additional scouting though, as pretty much nAni knows everything he thinks he needs to know. Running off of 2 base starport, he is currently going off of that. Going off for that 1 Colossus now that's being trained up. Extended thermal lance range should be started as soon as that robotics bay is done. Now getting another warp gate. So running off of 5 warp gates, and now perhaps going to try to do a bit of pressure. Armor upgrades now coming in addition to that combat shield. Down over here, you can still see more SCVs are being called down into this location here. And did he actually have mules? Strelok, he's actually calling mules back in his own base as well. Now trying to relieve that supply lock, currently building up 4 supply depots at a time. So now those supply depots are being done. He should be able to queue up a lot more units as this observer still able to sit inside the base. Combat shield, level 1 weapons upgrade, double medevacs, armory also being added in as well. So we may get another engineering bay in addition, so in order to get some higher level upgrade. So double engineering bay and a lot of marines. So this will be perhaps multiple marine drops with medevacs. Zealots and sentries are on the move. I don't see a Ghost Academy at all. There is 1 Colossus standing back as this observer just going to continue to sit in that position there. You can see Strelok having a lot of marines in production, trying to train up more and more units. He is not really utilizing all of his racks that much, so he needs to really crank into gear his production. Otherwise, he will fall behind. You can see Strelok now getting even more SCVs, just trying to use as many mules as possible, as this army of zealots, stalkers, and sentries are, I guess, forced to turn around after seeing a medevac drop 2 marines. So those 2 marines quickly being spotted there, and the medevac picking up the units and pulling back over here. He perhaps thought it was going to be a full drop. Instead, that was more of a scouting drop. As a probe now hiding off over here. Is it actually spotted? I believe actually it is just barely spotted there. So if it's able to actually warp in a pylon here, he would be able to warp in units straight up onto that high ground with the help of this Colossus. So Vikings now are on the move as well. The Viking may be able to get some damage onto those units. The Vikings getting a round of attack onto the Colossus. The Colossus now being forced to pull away just a little bit as what I believe the 2 Vikings now trying to put pressure there. Sentries are also here as well. All of these units going back and forth as now down goes that 1 Vespene Geyser refinery, unable to get any additional gas there, as there is still the observer sitting on the inside. We are now going into 4 Vikings, 4 Marauders, 2 Marines, so a double production of Vikings off of 2 starports with reactors. And we are also getting another mule in play, or another orbital command, so that may be lift off in just a moment. The Colossi just getting a lot of damage onto those SCVs, finally taking down that observer there, realizing that nAni has just been coming straight into this position, knowing way too much information that 1 Viking needs to turn around. This is open for an expansion right now, as more units, more stalkers are now pouring in from the far side. Strelok still doing a good job keeping up this base up and running. A hidden expansion, meaning a much stronger army. And Strelok going to get into 200 food in probably the next 2 minutes. You can see 163 over 180. His income is also slightly higher just because of those mules and this hidden expansion down over here. He is mining off of more mineral patches as well. So that is another reason that he has to celebrate, knowing that he can sit back and then just try to macro up as much as possible. More Vikings are being added to the army. Level 1 weapons upgrade on the air units. So those Vikings are now dealing 30 damage per attack against those Colossi, as Stalkers, Sentries, and Zealots are once again trying to make another move. There are a lot of Vikings here, though, so those Vikings could easily push their way in. The bunker now perhaps coming over, and the Vikings getting some damage. Down goes one Colossus. No, not quite yet. Down to 30 hit points. And now backing off with so many Vikings. Those Vikings who are almost going to be able to two-shot those Colossus, I believe, almost. Actually, it's 360 damage, so yeah, almost, just because there is a little bit of armor on those Colossus there. The Vikings need to try to engage your Guardian Shield now coming up. Vikings, both sides battling it out. Vikings need to perhaps get a proper flank on those other side of units there. Marauders and the Marines are continuing to push in. The Colossi are going to get rolled over here in just a moment. And now the Vikings may try to land. No, not trying to land at all. The Stalkers were able to blink up, get some decent damage. But with all of those Colossi taken down, this Gateway army doesn't really want to try to engage. Trying to engage with a Gateway army without enough Colossus for that splash damage. The DPS is much higher, as Strelok now sitting on, what is that, 17 Vikings. So 17 Vikings times 30. I'm sorry, I don't know my multiplication tables. 17 times 30. Yeah, it's 200 something. Yeah, 243, 240. Yeah, and that was just a WAG. Anyways, these Vikings will still now only be able to two-shot those Colossus. The Colossus do have a natural 1 armor, throw up a Guardian Shield, and I believe it's still able to two-shot, as Strelok now moves out with a very large army, and he doesn't even have that many Medivacs. The Medivacs are now finally being added, more Marauders being added. Medivacs still need to be added as well, as we're sitting at 186 food army now. This proxy pylon gonna get taken down, 141 versus 187, and this straight up macro style of play going to do so much. This one observer now flying around the map doesn't see this expansion yet. Strelok could continue to just drop down mules. You can see a very large army of Vikings now perhaps going to try to come in and shoot down that last Colossus. That Colossus taking 1 round in the back there, and now going to engage. And now the Vikings are just going to simply land from behind. And as soon as it lands from behind, those Zealots and those Stalkers are not going to have anywhere to go. So many Vikings here. The Immortal would be able to normally get a lot of damage here, as the Vikings are now getting cleaned up by those Zealots. Zealots do have level 3 weapons upgrade. The Marauders and the Marines need to engage. All the Vikings now taken down. Strelok perhaps should not have tried to land that many Vikings, but he did deal a lot of damage there. And now with only 2 Medivacs, it looks like he cannot continue to push. These units are only upgraded to 1. And wow, those Zealots and that Immortal dealing 50 or 65 damage a pop against a Viking. Absolutely devastating. Just shutting down all of those Vikings there. And we'll see what happens. Is nAni going to transition once again back into Colossi, or is he only going to use the High Templar? We already see Ghost now coming out. So with Ghost being added to the army, it will have a counter to that massive, or to the area effect damage of that Psystorm if they're able to get it off first. Command Center now being placed down by Strelok. Strelok currently running off of 3.5 bases. You can see level 2 weapons upgrade on the Vikings, level 2 armor, level 3 weapons upgrade, as the Ghost Marauders are now trying to make a move. Only 1 Ghost in this group though, so what is going to be happening here? The Ghost, is it going to try to lead the way? That's going to be the key question. It is going to most likely just get feedback though, as those units are just going to absolutely get taken down. The Nexus taken down there. Marauders with Stim able to take down a 2,000 hit point building very easily. Zealots are now in position over here. Perhaps we'll get another EMP shockwave. That 1 Ghost needs to be very careful with that EMP round. And now no EMP round just quite yet. There's the feedback onto the Ghost, and there's the Psystorm. Brilliantly done by nAni. nAni just separating this army, but the reinforcements coming in from Strelok, catching nAni off guard, as the Marauders are now just flanking the crap out of nAni here. You can see the Archons are trying to be merged. Additional Ghosts joining in on this fight. The Archons just going to get destroyed as only 4 medevacs for this many Marauders. And this is what I call a glass army at this stage. All those Marauders are so low on hit points that they can get taken down very easily by Psystorm. A probe now taken down. Are we going to get some Psystorm in? I do not think so. An EMP Shockwave, 2 EMP Shockwaves, just destroying or depleting all the energy there. We may be getting enough Psystorm in just a moment. Yes, 70 seconds, 70 energy, a couple more seconds, and there you go. In comes the High Templar. High Templar should be dropping in some Psystorm. There's 1, 2, and there's the GG. So nAni never really finding the other expansions at all, not knowing that there was an expansion here with a lot of mules being called into play, and this long-term expansion set up at the 6 o'clock location really worth its weight in minerals, just because it was able to return. I'm not even sure how many minerals it was able to return. It was perhaps a decent amount, somewhere in the realm of, I'd assume, 8,000 minerals off of these 8 mineral patches, and also a fair amount of gas. And nAni just probably was wondering why he was unable to keep up with his opponent's macro. Strelok never really had the stronger micro that we'd like to see, but his macro was simply something to behold, with that additional base going on at the 5-6 minute mark. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed Game 2 in what I now know is a best of 3 series. Stay tuned for Game 3.